Greetings. I am Reverend James DeBoer, co-pastor of the Tree of Life Faith Community. Today I'm going to offer a spiritual lens for viewing the forces at work in our society in this moment. My goal here is to find a way to help you understand what's taking place and on that basis to develop your own response in clarity and in community. There are three broad forces at play: empire, ethnarchy, and mutuality. These are three forces that have been in the mix throughout history and can even be traced to biblical times. Empire is the confluence of military and commercial power backed up by the legal system. Ethnarchy is the movement to define America as whites only. And mutuality is the hope that Dr. King's and Jesus' vision of humanity and solidarity can yet prevail. For a long time, the United States of America has had aspirations to become an empire, just like the British we rebelled against. These ambitions gathered steam at pivotal junctures as the United States dispossessed the indigenous people of their land and acquired, directly or indirectly, overseas territories. The American empire, in all but name, achieved its military zenith by toppling governments the world over, first in the service of fighting communism in the 20th century and then supposedly in the interest of fighting terror more recently. But at the end of the day, it is not the military that drives the empire's militarism. Much of the time, military involvement is prompted by the designs of certain industries or general needs of the economy, such as the need for markets for manufactured goods or for raw materials, precious minerals, rare metals, or oil. There's a lot more to say about empire, including how the business interests of the United States have aligned the business interests in other developed and developing countries to endorse a world order of so-called free markets, and with that, near zero tolerance for governments providing substantial safety nets or social services to their constituents. It is practically impossible to extricate yourself from participating in the empire. A web of commerce covers the face of the earth, pulling the majority of the planet's consumers into networks of exploitation of labor and unsustainable usage of natural resources the world over. As a result of the empires driving companies to find ever cheaper methods of production, American industry has taken a serious hit. Across the country, towns and cities that once hosted busy factories have been eviscerated as the lion's share of factory work has been consolidated, automated, and shipped overseas. What they call artificial intelligence is now in the process of taking over most office and retail jobs, which will push more and more people into unemployment in the name of profit for a small clique of CEOs and majority shareholders. Keep this in mind as we turn to ethnarchy. Ethnarchy is the attempt to define a nation by appeals to racial demarcation, drawing lines based on race to determine who's in and who's out, or who may be a first-class citizen and who must be a second-class citizen. In the United States, the ethnarchy here is an ethnarchy of white supremacy. The roots of ethnarchy go all the way back to the original sin of enslavement of African peoples and their descendants, then Jim Crow, then resistance to the civil rights movement. But today, ethnarchy's fuel comes from blaming people of color for the many devastations and upheavals that the empire has inflicted on so many Americans. There is no basis for this at all, but it comes as an easy answer, especially as the empire has gotten more sophisticated in its advertisement to make it seem more multicultural than it really is. Make no mistake, the beneficiaries of the empire are virtually all white, the millionaire and billionaire class. But seeing their messages, it's understandable that some white people may find themselves believing that people of color are better off than they are, that the economy favors people of color and leaves white people behind. Although this is a complete lie, and the reality is patterns of oppression, systemic racism, and intentional racism continue to keep people of color back. Resisting and confronting the many failings of the empire can lead us toward another path. Mutuality is the invitation to treasure the connectedness that we have in common, and a rejection of all forms of exploitation and division. Skin color, gender, sexual orientation, religion, educational background must not be categories that we use to reject or judge one another. Under mutuality, our circle of community extends beyond just the people of any one nation to reach everybody. As Dr. King put it, we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. These three forces of empire, ethnarchy, and mutuality are all alive and well in our society. Each of us participates in some ways in all three, like it or not. Political parties, movements, and institutions do too. I say this with deep awareness of my own unearned advantages as a white man. So as I explained up front, I offer these categories not to criticize anyone, but to analyze what's going on. We recall Christ's defiance of both the Roman authorities and those in Judea whose response to Roman rule was to establish exclusionary ethnic boundaries. Rather, on the day of Pentecost, the Spirit came and spoke the languages of all the ethnicities of the known world, nor did the apostles show prejudice for or against any racial group. And so, may the Pentecost Spirit inform and revitalize all of us as we seek to follow where God's Spirit blows. Grace and peace. Amen.